From the city of Palms, deep in the heart of South Texas, where Mexican food is just food. You've reached RTD Radio.
Good for you.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Today we are doing a show on science versus superstition.
Well, would it be on science, the concept? Or what do you mean by science versus superstition?
We'll be discussing science
And
versus superstition. Yes.
Okay. Well, before we get into that, let me do the obligatory introduction for all of y'all who are listening to us for the very first time. We are Road to Damascus Radio.com, RTDradio.com for short, Camino a Damasco Radio.com for our Spanish-speaking audience. You can hook us up on YouTube under the channel name Road to Damascus Radio, and through the website that I just mentioned. Please comment below all your thoughts, your feelings. Challenge us today. We've got today we have a guest in the studio. Dun, dun, dun.
Mm-hmm. The judge. Yeah, so he'll be coaching us today, baseball style. Yeah. Throwing up his signs, secret hand signals.
Secret signals.
Definitely.
Telling us go faster, slow. No, accentuate that point.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, grind that one in, etc. So we thank David for joining us today and actually leading us in prayer. What an awesome prayer. Did you like that?
Yeah, it was good.
I liked it a lot. I thought it was objective, sincere, heartfelt.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, science versus superstition.
Now, the name in itself of the show is kind of misleading because right off the bat, when I say science versus superstition, it gives you it makes you understand that they're against each other.
Yeah.
So I'm already off the bat kind of subliminally saying that they're against each other when really they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
In reality, I myself do not believe science contradicts superstition or vice versa. In some cases, you know what? It is what it is. Some superstitions have been debunked, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Of course.
And at the same time, some scientific fact has also been debunked or proven incorrect. What was once fact is now false.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just wanted to start off with that. But we're really, like Carlos said, we're going to talk about science and superstition.
Yeah.
I know right now I wanted to start off with superstition.
Okay.
And like we usually do, let's just define it.
Yeah, let's do some definitions first.
Yeah. So a superstition, according to dictionary.com,
yes,
is a belief or notion not based on reason or knowledge or in the ominous significance of a particular thing, circumstance, occurrence, proceeding, or the like.
Okay.
So what does that mean?
Well, yeah. Break it down in layman's terms.
I'm going to just break it down to the first part.
Okay.
A belief or notion not based on reason or knowledge.
Okay.
So there you go.
Fair enough.
So we'll leave it at that. So when anybody thinks of superstition, what's the first thing that pops in their head?
Stories
That
their grandma told them.
Yeah. Cultural.
Yeah.
Cultural superstitions. The most famous one, I would think, like Friday the 13th.
Okay, yeah.
Like that has no scientific basis that something quote unquote bad will happen to you on a Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
But it is based on specific events that happened in the past that kind of gave it that bad reputation.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So like there's even movies called Friday the 13th. I don't know how many there are now.
Yeah.
But or even babies born on Friday the 13th. I mean, it's just this big old this feeling around that specific date, for whatever reason, has that negative connotation of bad luck. When in reality, it's just any other day.
Well, I have my thoughts about that.
Yeah.
I think specifically Friday the 13th is a smear tactic meant to satanize the number 13 and the concept behind it. But I don't think we're going to get into that show right now. That's a whole nother subject. The number 13, it's the significance, and kind of why I believe that they're trying to make 13 a bad thing when in reality it has a plethora of positive connotations, scriptural, etc. So anyways,
No, that's fine. Yeah.
No, I'm just,
Yeah, no, specifically to the day Friday the 13th. I'm not going to talk about the number.
Yeah.
I'm specifically talking about the actual day.
Yeah.
Yes, you know what? Certain things did happen on a Friday. They just happened to be the 13th of a month.
Yeah.
Specific things would be what's more famous is the Knights Templar. That's when the Pope ordered all of them to be pretty much exterminated. And that would have been on a Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact year, but I know when that's happened.
Yeah.
Also, I think there was also certain gang wars or whatnot that happened on Friday the 13th, even here in the U.S.
Yeah.
It just happens to be a day where throughout the history of recorded history, that day just bad things happened on that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But also going back to like your number, that number you said, there's that sentiment of Friday the 13th being so bad that you even got some hotel buildings or business offices that'll literally skip the 13th floor.
The 13th floor. That's
or the 13th
prevalent.
room.
Yeah, that's
or
prevalent.
things like that. And also,
for sure.
it also does get that 13 because Judas was supposedly the 13th guest of the Last Supper.
Yeah.
Yeah, things like that. And of course, Jesus being crucified on a Friday.
Yeah.
So that's where you get that weird mixture.
Well, at the same time, the disciples and Jesus sum 13, which
there you go.
Cannot be a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I was coming from with
definitely
trying to satanize the name.
Exactly. I think it's just like you said, like a smear tactic. Yeah. And also, I mean, like I mentioned, there's movies off of it. So I mean, there's people making money off of a superstition that's based really in nothing.
Bingo. That's what I wanted to get at. You got there sooner than later. I believe that superstition nowadays has been monetized.
Yeah, people make money off I don't want to say the ignorance, but they make money off of the superstitions of others.
Yes.
So that's one example. Another example would, let's say, the walking under a ladder.
Yeah.
People say, of course, you walk under a ladder, you're gonna have bad luck or whatnot.
Breaking a mirror,
itchy palms. Yeah. The horseshoe.
Yeah, in the doorway, the horseshoe in the doorway.
Knocking on wood. For example.
Famous.
Yeah, there's a lot of superstitions out there, but superstition isn't just like a single action. It could also be
it's a belief
system, a series of actions. So like I know we talked about in previous shows where you have like these witch doctors.
Yeah.
So actually going to them because believing that they can heal or free you of certain ailment, that in itself would be a superstition.
Yeah.
Where rather than going to a doctor or praying on it, you're going to, for that matter, you're going to go to this witch doctor to give you some herb or do the barrida or the egg or whatnot or anything. They're going to give you some kind of potion, of course, to heal you. That in itself is a superstition.
Yeah. Or it's cataloged as a superstition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Keep going because I want to get into why superstitions and science are actually the same thing. But let's keep going to not lose track.
And not all superstitions are bad, to be honest with you.
No.
Some are either neutral or good. Like I would say like a good superstition, when somebody sneezes, what do you say?
Salud.
God bless you.
Yeah.
Exactly. So is that a bad superstition?
No.
Is saying God bless you going to hurt anybody?
Well, but isn't that based on the belief that when you sneezed, your soul left your body? So you had to say God bless you to get it back in? That's what I had heard.
Yeah, no, that's part of it. When I had researched it, it actually, that practice or that, that practice of saying God bless you after somebody sneezed came about during the plague in Europe.
There you go.
Where it actually, when somebody sneezed, it's pretty much a telltale sign that you're infected. Yeah. That you're sick.
Yeah.
Really, nobody sneezes for no reason unless you're allergic to something or whatnot.
Yeah.
And usually you sneeze because something's wrong. Or nobody sneezes for no reason.
Or you put too much pepper in your eggs.
There you go. Yes, like I said, an allergic reaction. But back then, of course, they had no way to really. They didn't understand that.
No.
So a pope, I'm pretty sure it's Pope Gregory in the 6th century, he actually made it. I don't want to say law, but he made it mandatory so that when somebody sneezes, you say God bless you, so that God can bless that person from whatever is causing them to sneeze.
There you go.
So there you got it, and it would pretty much keep them safe. Specifically, I think it was 1665
Okay.
Yeah, because a sneeze was a sign a person would likely die soon. And also, like you said, it was
Wow.
your soul kind of trying to leave your body,
Yeah.
and saying "God bless you" would shove it right back.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
But that's an example of like I don't want to say a good superstition, but that's an example of a superstition.
a superstition.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Another one would be like crossing your fingers,
Oh,
like
yeah.
hoping. Like we all do that, even as children. I know my son
Yeah.
does that. He's young. I mean, we're all guilty of it. And like I said, not that it's something anything bad, but
Yeah.
whenever we hope for something, we want something to happen. Of course, we're gonna pray, but either knowingly or unknowingly, you look down at your hands, and what are they doing? They're
Yeah.
crossing each other.
Really?
I mean, it happens.
Wow. Yeah.
So then, that's another superstition. Another one would be like the wishbone.
Okay.
Yeah, breaking a wishbone,
Breaking.
and of course, whoever gets the bigger piece is gonna have that wish.
Yeah.
Or even simple things like blowing out your candles in a birthday party.
Yeah.
Things like that. I mean, we don't realize they're superstitions, but in reality, that they actually fit the definition of a superstition.
Yes.
Things like
precisely.
that. Now,
And there's a lot of these that are based on folklore, I'm going to say.
mhm.
But, I mean, keep going, because I have a postulation to make about all this, where I'm saying that superstitions are as empirical data as you can get, because a lot of these quote-unquote superstitions are oral traditions handed down through the generations, which are nothing more than accounts of an activity or an event that happened a certain way, and it had a certain result. Now, the curious thing is that you start hearing similarities between these superstitions spread out all over the world. You hear the same thing about sneezing from Europe that you do from the Americas and from Asia, et cetera, et cetera. You hear the same thing. That list that you mentioned, they're spread out across the world, and they've been handed down through the generations. And you got to realize that these people didn't have the internet, they didn't have talk radio, they didn't have TV. So how was it that all of their accounts are so similar? Why are all the details about whatever event and the way it ended up so similar? You see what I mean? So I'm going to say that superstition has been, the concept of superstition has been perverted just so that you can ridicule a certain group of people for their beliefs, when in reality, what people want to call science does the exact same thing, but yet you cannot ridicule science. You know, when you try and ridicule a scientist, people get defensive. Like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Einstein didn't know what he was saying when he said gravity. Well, I'm sorry, but gravity is a superstition by definition. Why? The definition says, what were the first exact words that it said there? Because I have a different one.
A belief or notion not based on reason or knowledge.
Gravity, 1, has not been proven. 2, it's not replicatable. And 3, we do have observations on it, of its effects, but not of its cause.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, that's about as close to a definition of a superstition you can get. But just because Einstein said it, well, it has to be science, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean? Anyways, that's towards the middle or end of the show, which is what I wanted to get into. But it goes to reinforce what you're saying, that superstitions are these groups of things, and many, many, many things. I'm sure you have more on your list there. But they are things that happen. They're not stories that somebody made up. They are accounts of events that took place, and they're handed down as oral tradition. So,
When I'm talking about superstition, I mean, there's a difference between the act itself and the result.
yeah.
So I think it's going to be difficult, and I'm going to use the example of saying God bless you.
Yeah.
It's going to be difficult to get 100 people to sneeze that are actually sick,
Mhm.
and each 100 be told God bless you after they sneeze, and measure which ones are actually healed after saying God bless you.
Yes.
So I think the superstition would be in actually saying the God bless you, and the science would be in proving that the God bless you actually works.
Exactly.
So there's a difference. And one would be like the black cat. Like, it's like getting 100 people to walk in front of a black cat and measuring which one actually has bad luck, and scientifically proving that crossing paths with a black cat will give you bad luck. So so what I'm trying to say is superstitions, they are what they are. They're just unproven. They're beliefs based on nothing, for the most part.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm going to use those examples. Yeah, I'm going to use those examples, or even the walking under a ladder. Because I don't think it's going to be very difficult to measure the effect of a superstition. When the superstition is just, to me, in my definition, is just the action of doing something, not the actual result of doing it. So that's why it's a little bit difficult for me. And really, with that definition itself, what I just gave a superstition, quite literally, all religion could fall into that category.
Yeah.
Because a belief or notion not based on reason or knowledge, it's very similar to what the Hebrews is the definition of faith.
Exactly.
So quite literally, anybody could put Christianity as a superstition.
Yeah. Islam,
Buddhism, a belief in even atheism could be a superstition.
Yeah.
So it's superstition has this very broad definition, and it's very difficult to narrow it down until, I'll be honest with you, I think that science actually validates superstition. In many cases, yes, in many cases.
Yeah, in some cases, for sure.
And on the flip side as well, it also disproves. So, like, one would be, I'm trying to think of common superstitions that they have nowadays that in reality have, like, no effect. Like that song, "Ring Around the Posies," "Ring Around the Roses," pocket full of posies. The reason they did that because during the plague, there was a belief that having posies or little flowers in your pockets, actually warded away the plague itself.
The plague, yeah.
Now, scientifically, I don't see how that would even affect at all whether or not you getting the plague or not.
Yeah.
So, are superstitions bad things? They can be. Sometimes they're just either, not only fun, but they are what they are. They have no effect really on your life. Sometimes. Yeah. So
I hear what you're saying. I'm just gonna call people to analyze each superstition, I guess. Then
yes, honestly, it's a case by case basis.
Yeah.
I hate trying to use a blanket term.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest with you, existence is not one size fits all.
No, none of it.
It's not.
No.
It's going to be case by case basis where, you know what? Honestly, at one time, Christianity could be even seen as a superstition, even nowadays.
Yeah,
but we have actual physical evidence that corroborates certain events that happened.
Yeah.
Certain places discussed in the Bible.
Yeah.
Certain people discussed in the Bible.
Yeah, exactly.
So that superstition that started off as a superstition now has actual quote-unquote scientific evidence backing it up.
Yeah.
So they go hand in hand. I don't think they necessarily are always in contradiction.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to add to that on the superstition side. I know you had something else to say, so.
About the superstitions? Well, other than call people to analyze each superstition on a case-by-case basis, I think you hit it on the head there because, like you mentioned, people are going to try and lump religion. And again, like you just mentioned, yes, you can when you try and blanket statement religion as a whole. But when you look at an individual basis of what makes up each religion, what books are written by whom, the effects of religion on people, then it stops looking like what the blanket term superstition is. You know, and again, comparing it to science. Yes, science. Could we get a definition of science?
Yeah.
Please.
Let me give you a definition of science.
Roll.
Science is defined as systematic knowledge of the physical or material world gained through observation and experimentation. Now, that is a very broad definition because science has, I don't know how many branches that it can go off into. But in a nutshell, that's what science is. Knowledge based on something you can observe and experiment on.
Again, you see what I mean? Some of these superstitions that we described, the effects are observable.
Yeah.
And the end result are observable.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for example, the black cat
Mm-hmm.
superstition. If you get 100 people and you actually do record the end of their day after having a black cat cross their path, just the act of recording and going through the process of formalizing, that makes it part of a scientific process.
Mm-hmm.
So by definition, that quote unquote superstition just got submitted to observation and results. And you can imply whether it's true or not at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know a lot of people out there on the comment section are going to come at us with the variables that make up each test. And that's exactly what I'm trying to say. When you have one of these oral tradition superstitions handed down, you have a lot of variables that are totally different and that are not controlled, yet the end result is the same. So in my mind, what I'm trying to do is get the listeners to not side or break that barrier. Break down that barrier between superstition and science for a moment and realize that neither science nor superstition can be totally proven. Just because you have a replicatable experiment and science wants to say that something is a certain way doesn't mean that that's the whole story.
Mm-hmm.
For example, and I don't want to break off too much, but just the science behind matter. For the longest time, we've had the standard model, which says that everything that we observe in the universe is made up of these little things called atoms, which in turn make molecules, which in turn make cells, etc., 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 right? But all of a sudden, now we have these quantum physicists saying, hold on, atoms are not the smallest things in the universe, and atoms are actually made up by these smaller things that are strings that vibrate at different frequencies. So that's what I'm trying to tell people. Just because science has presented you with a picture of reality doesn't mean that they have the whole picture, that they know what's truly going on, and that they're allowed to dictate in your life whether your beliefs are fact or not, landing on the main theme, which is our religion. That's what I'm trying to say. Don't let somebody tell you that your religion isn't valid just because there isn't an observable and measurable experiment that can prove that Jesus Christ is the road to salvation. On one side, you're going to have a group of believers whose lives have totally been changed because of their beliefs, because they're picking up their cross on a daily basis and walking the walk. And to me, that's empirical data. To me, that's as scientific as it's going to get.
The evidence, yeah, that's the
There's
evidence.
your evidence,
yeah, that's
right
your evidence.
there. There's a life-changing event. Now, a lot of people out there in the comment section, I can almost read them. They're going to talk about the placebo effect. They're going to talk about, well, somebody just wanted to change, and all of a sudden they used the excuse of religion. Again, just like the example I gave you about matter and hardcore science, quantum physicists and material scientists are in a death match, both on mathematics and they can't agree. They don't agree. They go at each other's throat each time at all the symposiums where these people who postulate M theory, which is that string theory that I was telling you, they go hard against material physicists who are bent on saying that everything that makes up the universe is physical or material in a sense. And these new guys are saying that no, you know what we observe makes up the universe, not the other way around. As in, the universe isn't there, or something in the universe isn't there until someone's there to observe it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the newer guys are saying, whereas the old school guys are saying, no, the universe was there. Whether you observed it or not is irrelevant. It was there. See? So what we're trying to do is break that barrier for a little bit. You know, get that construct out of your head that says your superstitions are not true just because a group of people have labeled it a superstition, and now you're stuck in that group of people who are believing stuff based on whatever. So, you know, we're trying to get you to break that barrier for a little bit. Be open to the fact that these two concepts, which seemingly are different, are actually the same. If that made any sense at all. I don't know, maybe I lost somebody. What do you think, David? Did I lose you? Yeah, thumbs up. Thumbs up means we're still here.
Yeah. No, I think that both superstition and science really are a quest for truth, but they just come at it at different ways.
There you go.
Where superstition doesn't need that physicalness or that physical evidence to believe that something is true.
Yeah.
Where science needs that evidence to believe that something is true.
Or tries.
Tries to prove it.
There you go.
So I think that's two different ways of going at that goal of finding what truth is.
There you go.
And the thing is, a lot of times, science will say something is truth.
Yeah.
When either a year later or centuries later, it gets disproven.
It gets proven wrong.
So then that just goes to show you that for those few hundred years, people were living thinking that the certain truth was true and truth, but it actually wasn't.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and same thing with superstition. And superstition, I would honestly say that also. I would lump in paganism into superstition.
Yeah.
Now, of course, this being a Christian show, me and you being Christians, for us, we believe that Christ is truth. So anything outside of Christ, by definition, is false.
Yeah. Worded in that way,
Yeah, so
yeah, for sure.
And I'm going to quote the Bible. There's only one way to salvation, and that's Christ.
Yeah.
It's not going to be other deities or other prophets or other ways. It's going to be, there's only one way. There's not many ways. There's one way. So, like I said, by definition, these other ways, it's going to sound ugly, but it is what it is. If it's not Christ, it's not Christ.
Yeah.
And I'll leave it at that. Now, science, you got a lot of scientists out there that are Christians and actually use their ability and understanding of science to actually make the case for Christianity.
Yeah.
And of course, you got the other side where they're trying to disprove that the Bible or religion or anything is even an actual thing. They're trying to disprove the existence of God. For example, rather than trying to focus on curing cancer, no, they're going to try to focus on disproving God. Yeah. Rather than trying to solve all these world problems, now they're going to try to disprove God.
Yeah.
Or if they can't, they're going to blame God on all the problems.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. Sorry, I went on a little rant.
No,
right there.
You're good.
But
you also got your group of converts because of science.
Yes, and actually, honestly, a real good convert that actually wrote a lot of books.
Yeah.
His name is Lee Strobel.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
No.
He wrote a series of books one of them is called The Case for Christ. He has a few of like the case for the Bible, the case for whatever. And actually, this guy was a hardcore atheist.
Yeah.
Like super hardcore until what he did is he actually took specific examples in the Bible and put them up to scientific scrutiny.
Yeah.
So like, for example, the crucifixion.
Yeah.
Like he started taking biblical accounts of like when they speared Jesus, and of course the Bible says that blood and water came out.
Yeah.
or certain things in the Bible that aren't normal. Like, how can a human being actually take that much torture and still carry a cross up to that?
Yeah.
What he did is I mean, I'm not going to ruin it for you, but I would definitely encourage you guys to read The Case for Christ.
Yeah.
Because he was actually able to go to these quote-unquote experts in their study, whether it be in human biology or in legalistic terms or whatever, and he was able to show that, you know what, everything written in the Bible can scientifically happen in real life. Another example would be in the Garden of Gethsemane when of course it's told that Jesus was actually sweating blood.
Yeah.
Now, to an atheist or to somebody that doesn't believe, they're going to say, well, how can somebody sweat blood?
Yeah.
Well, in the book of The Case for Christ, Lee Strobel actually went to these medical professionals, and not that they were Christian or atheists. I mean, these guys were really not biased in any way, because he didn't tell them why he was interviewing them. He just kind of asked these general questions.
Yeah, for sure.
And there are actual scientifically proven events or occurrences where under extreme duress,
Yeah.
that yes, human beings can actually sweat blood droplets through the pores of their skin.
Yes, this is
Now, some people are going to say, well, it's under extreme duress. Well, I think your impending death, within a few hours, would classify as extreme duress,
to say
the least.
Yeah, man.
But there are some other examples, like how can he even survive being crucified for that long, as far as like the actual nails in the wrist or the beating or whatnot. Like, how can the human body take so much punishment and still be alive? Things like that, and he kind of goes into that, and he actually does make a actual scientific case for Christ, where he takes physical observations that have been recorded and cataloged over a period of years, and actually uses them. Say, you know what, this has happened, so there's no reason why it couldn't have happened.
Yeah.
To this man known as Christ.
Yeah.
Now, of course, along his journey and trying to disprove Christ, he actually ended up proving it to himself. Yeah. And he's one of the most outspoken apologists out there, defending the Christian faith. Yeah. Because of the work he's able to do in actually scientifically proving that these events actually occurred, and of course the man himself, Christ. So, in a lot of cases, I would say, you know what, that's a prime example of how science actually proved this quote-unquote superstition known as Jesus Christ. Because there's people out there that even deny his existence on Earth. Yeah,
which has been proven.
So many times. I mean, apart from the physical evidence, you got so many different historical events from non-Christians. Yeah. And apart from the hundreds of, if not thousands of actual witnesses that were there at the crucifixion that saw him resurrect and things like that.
Historical accounts.
Exactly.
From different people that are not even trying to be biblical narratives that narrate about a person that fits the description at the time, with the people that accompanied him, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah. Yeah. But I wanted to go into that, of course, that actually, you know, science in many cases does prove these superstitions. Yeah, definitely. And even after that, they're still called superstitions, which I think is funny.
So also, and not to deviate a whole lot, but also I want to factor in the pharmaceutical companies and these different corporations and their interests and their reasons for trying to disprove or trying to alienate some of the miracles that were performed, or some of these things that are said. They try and label them as superstitions, as, oh man, I can't believe you guys still believe in all that kind of stuff, when something as simple as herbology is totally proven to work. Now, pharmaceutical companies spend a lot of money disseminating false information, misinformation, hoping that people will jump on the bandwagon of looking at doctors like these all-knowing,
like saviors.
Yeah, exactly. When in reality, they don't really know what they're doing.
Some doctors, yes.
Well, not only that, medicine in general, and I'm just gonna go on a not a huge tangent, but like a quick example. Here in the West, there seems to be a huge problem with Eastern medicine, acupuncture, herbology that I just mentioned, and all these disciplines that the Chinese, that the Asians have been doing for thousands of years. And there's a really interesting documentary done by BBC London, and I'm trying to come up with the name. Oh man, just Google it. I'll put it down in the description. I'll investigate the name of it, and I'll put it down in the description. And basically, it's a female brain surgeon that goes on a quest to disprove acupuncture, right? Saying that it's this myth, it's a superstition that how can these needles that go into your body have any effect on your body in a physical way. So she goes to China, goes with one of the head acupuncture people, and witnesses an open heart surgery being performed with nothing other than the anesthesia caused by needles. No chemical anesthesia was used. She has, I mean, this is on video. She's like kind of odd, like, man, y'all are performing open heart surgery and you didn't sedate, like the person's talking.
Yeah, during the procedure.
During an open heart surgery. Right? So that got her interested. Like, wait a minute, something's going on here, because I'm, studied in Cambridge or whatever university, and she's been taught that, that's just totally impossible. You have to sedate a person, you have to submit them, under these heavy drugs in order for them to be calm enough and their heart rate be stable enough for them to undergo these kinds of procedures. She's got it on video, not convinced, takes a set of people back to the United States to do a controlled experiment in a lab where she tries to do the placebo effect, tries to rule it out, right? By having a controlled group of people submit themselves, people with a certain ailment, submit themselves to treatment with acupuncture, and another group submit themselves to her traditional drugs and medicine, right?
Pills and whatnot.
Yeah, and they have this third group of people that they submit to the placebo effect on both sides. They give them a sugar pill, and they give them a device that seems like they're getting poked with needles, and it looks like they got a needle in them, but there's never a rupture of the skin. So that would be like the equivalent of a sugar pill. Yeah. Right? Again, the tests come out positive. The people that actually engaged in traditional acupuncture showed their health getting better. The people that were in the control group that thought they were getting the acupuncture but didn't really get it, they didn't show any signs of being any better. The people that were submitted under traditional medicine got better for a little while, but as soon as they stopped taking the medicine, boom, they're back. And the people that took the sugar pill just showed no signs of being better at all. Not content with that, she goes to a third. Trying to disprove this, she goes to an MRI machine. Submits a person into this magnetic resonance thing, which actually maps the brain, and they've got it so you can do this in real time now. Before, it used to be there was a delay between you took a scan and then there was a reading, and you could see some of the synapses in your brain firing. Now they've fine-tuned it enough to where you can see it in real time. So she takes a person, has, if I'm not mistaken, they have some kind of paralysis.
Oh, wow.
Put them in the MRI machine. Obviously, they take a baseline test where the person tries to move the part that's paralyzed. And no, there's no firing in the brain. I mean, you could see this on the screen. The brain is giving the command to fire, but there's no physical movement. Bring out the needles, start throwing the needles into the body, the way the acupuncturists do. All of a sudden, the body starts moving, the brain synapses start firing. Yeah. So the takeaway from her documentary was like, you know what? I was wrong. Like, I spent my whole career trying to say that these Asians didn't know what they were doing. They were just believing in silly superstitions. And here I am, PhD doctor, whatever, going to China to learn acupuncture now. because I've seen firsthand that it's, you know. So that's another example of how torn we are.
How in this case the superstition disproved the science.
Oh yeah.
So it is vice versa.
Yeah.
It's not always science being the quote unquote victim.
Yeah.
Or being the one being disproven. No, actually in this case it's the other way around.
Yeah. You got to analyze who is behind
the science.
Who's
giving you the science?
Yeah. Yes. Because if you ask a Chinese person, acupuncture is science.
Yeah. To some people, science is one thing, and some others it's not. If I can't see it, it's not science.
Exactly.
Some people are like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do think they need each other. Like a famous quote from Albert Einstein. I'm gonna bust out my quotes.
There you go.
Science without religion is lame. Religion without science is blind.
There you go.
So that's a good one.
That's a good one. I like that.
Another one is a scientific discovery is also a religious discovery. There is no conflict between science and religion. Our knowledge of God is made larger with every discovery we make about the world.
There you go.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Another one, by Martin Luther King, was kind of leading to what we mentioned about earlier, where science investigates, religion interprets. Science gives man knowledge, which is power. Religion gives man wisdom, which is control.
There you go.
So the perversion of either or, and Martin Luther King Jr. said that.
Yeah.
So the perversion of either or also does have its negative effects. Science in its purest form, yes, will lead you to knowledge. Knowledge is what, science is by the means why we're able even to make this show.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
through science.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Somebody had to figure out the wavelengths, how to make the microphones, how to make all this happen, the computers and whatnot.
The binary code,
exactly.
Computers and all this stuff. Yeah,
exactly. So I'm not gonna say science is a bad thing. I'm not that guy. No, we need science, but I see no conflict.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's
I see no conflict. They help each other out. They complement each other, not conflict with each other.
Yeah.
Your boy, the Pope, John Paul II.
My boy.
Said science can purify religion from error and superstition.
Okay.
There's that word. Religion can purify science from idolatry and false absolutes.
There you go.
Boom.
False absolutes. That's
there you go.
Exactly.
So you see, that's an example where they fact check each other.
They should.
A lot of the times. And really they should. It shouldn't be one or the other. You cannot be 100% science-based and 100% superstition-based.
Yeah.
You kind of have to have that both where you use one to check the other.
Yeah. I think that this is due to the fact that there's a spiritual component to life. It's not just the physical. There's a spiritual component, and it's this spiritual component that we know less about. Not because we don't have resources available to us, but because it's such a heated debate. That nobody wants to agree. Right now, us believers who have had spiritual experiences and who have learned to trust our faith, we have a different outtake.
Yeah, we have a different view. Yeah,
we have a different view because I happen to know that my prayers get answered. I happen to know, and I've seen, tangible examples of my prayers being answered. And that's a totally spiritual event. Right now, when you are strictly science-based, like you just said, none of that spiritual component, you don't take that into consideration.
It doesn't exist. Yeah, because how can you measure a prayer?
Yeah.
How can you observe a prayer? How can you write it down, record it, study it, examine it? You can't do that to a prayer. You can't do that. And I'm going to go back to, let's say, like what you just said. A spiritual person, that by definition, a science, how can you measure a spirit?
Yeah.
Can you catch a spirit? Can you experiment with a spirit?
No. Can
you even prove that a spirit even exists?
Yeah.
No,
you can't. Well,
there's documentaries out there, but I'll just say this: to a spiritual person, they're gonna do everything they can for the most part to preserve their spirit.
Yeah.
I would challenge the most hardcore atheist.
Yeah.
The most hardcore science-based, where I have to see it to believe it, to sign a paper saying that you're gonna give your soul to Satan. I would challenge that guy because, for one, he or she would not believe in Satan.
Yeah.
For one, he or she would not believe in a soul.
Yeah.
So really, it would be no problem for that individual to sign this worthless piece of paper.
Exactly.
But I have yet to see that challenge taken up.
Well, I'm sure there's a few people out there who are probably listening right now
that they might
who
do it.
say that no problem.
Sign it, bring it to me, whatever.
Yeah.
But you know what? I mean, I think innately every human being, once they're faced with actual death, it kind of awakens them up for the most part. I mean, you got some, and I forgot the name of this real famous atheist that literally on his deathbed he converted to Christianity. I'm trying to think of his name. It was a real famous guy.
I've heard of a few, not just
There's
one.
a few, There's a few where literally once they're actually in the deathbed where they can physically see death coming knocking at their door.
Is it valid to throw in Mr. Levine? What was his name?
Anton LaVey.
Anton LaVey.
There you go. The founder of the Church of Satan.
Yeah,
for example.
Church of Satan.
Yeah, the modern Church of Satan.
Yeah.
I mean, but going back to it, I don't think they're in conflict with each other. I think a lot of times science I think we can use science just to prove the grandeur of God, not to disprove that we don't need God. And I think that's where that perversion comes in.
I agree.
And when it comes to superstition, I can see where nowadays companies can actually take advantage of the superstition of the populace and make money off of it.
Yeah.
Like Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Like turning Christmas into this horribly commercialized where it's
terrible.
There's so much Santa that Christ isn't even in Christmas anymore. Things like that. Or like going back to Valentine's Day. A baby with the bow and arrow shooting at you, hearts.
Yeah.
Things like that. St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
These were not meant to be sold.
No.
These beliefs are not meant to make money off of.
No, but
things like that. But it ends up being perverted and over time just becomes just disgusting.
And it's due to the fact that some people, now let's talk about the other aspect. Mm-hmm. Some people go overboard on being too spiritual.
Or,
being too superstitious, which is another thing that you can't do. Because, again, let's go back to that example of prayer. I've prayed, and it's not like there's this divine hand that came down and fixed it. No, a path opened, and I walked the path. I physically made the changes. I physically got the job. I physically fixed the tire, whatever. The spiritual component is one, and then the ball gets thrown back into the material realm. Mm-hmm. So you can't just live in the superstitious spiritual realm, thinking that just because God loves you, He's gonna do it for you.
No,
which is not the purpose of the gospel to begin with. If you're paying attention to the gospel, yes, it's the good news. But in the good news, it's like, hey, we got some news for you, and it's going to hurt, and you're not going to like it, and it takes sacrifice. So, and any impulsive Christian out there who does not follow up with a warning to anyone that they're trying to reach, then I don't think they're doing their job completely. Mm-hmm. Because it's not like, hey, God loves you, like, yeah, but you got to pick up your cross and walk.
You got to do your part.
You got to do your part. So living totally in superstition is not the way. Living totally in the scientific
totally sight-based, realm, because we walk by faith, not by sight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and did I just pause the dynamics of what we were saying?
A little bit.
It's all good.
Yeah.
So, No, go ahead, man.
No, but I mean, just to add to that, like I said, science is a good thing.
Yeah.
I don't think either one of us is here saying science is bad. No, science is a good thing. And it's just like everything, man comes into it, and the first thing we do is we break it. We're like children. You give them a new toy, and what are the first thing they do? They break it. Or they find a way to break it.
Yeah.
So, and that's the same with superstition. God gives us this beautiful thing of even allowing us to know that He exists.
Yeah.
And the first thing we do is try to disprove Him.
Yeah.
Or try to say that we're better or that we don't need Him.
Yeah.
So it's just like, come on, dude. I mean, we as human beings we're already flawed by that. And as human beings, we mess up everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know anything that's perfect, or if it is, it's that a human being has created.
Yeah. No, nothing.
Exactly. So it's just, it goes to that. And I wanted to I don't know if you had anything else to say or to wrap it up or.
Well, actually, I if we could get into another really big pressing example of what we're trying to say, just to kind of further the conversation and give more points of argument to those people that are still not convinced. And I'd like to bring to the table the superstition of evolution. Which
Yeah.
I'm going to call it that.
No.
The superstition of evolution, because some people will swear that that's hardcore science.
That's truth.
That's truth.
It's the truth.
That we evolved from apes. And I'm going to give you 3 really quick examples, and I'm going to love to hear the comments on this one, of how that is totally not true. And it's, it's an ideology that's been sold to the masses, and I think it's been sold to the masses on purpose.
It's become a religion.
That in itself has become a religion. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Like, there's these hardcore evolutionists, and they have different terms for themselves. There's some called reductive materialists and whatever. Humanist, whatever. The idea is that we evolved from single cell organisms to what we currently are today. So 3
by accident.
Sorry,
I said that. By accident. It just happened. But
through genetic mutation, which is their big argument is genetic mutation and adapting to the environment bred these changes, and these changes over thousands, if not millions of years, evolved into what we currently have today, into this human that we can see today.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a thing called the missing link. Google it if y'all don't know what the missing link means.
Bigfoot.
There you go. Basically, it's called the missing link because our fossil records do not show an evolution, and a skeletal evolution from primate to Homo erectus. There is no fossil record. There's a gap. That's why it's called the missing link. They even have a name for it. And there's been several hoaxes throughout time that have been proven to be hoaxes, where someone goes, "Whoop, see, there you go." I think there was like an ape called Lucy or something like that, right? Like in the 80s or the 90s, where they were like, "Oh, you know what? We found the missing link. There's this half ape, half man skeleton."
Yeah.
Which turned out to be false. There's no fossil record of these genetic mutations spawning, or at some point just bringing a man out.
Or any other animal, for example. It's not just human beings.
Exactly.
It just, we tend to be so focused on humans.
Yeah,
but
you're right.
They try to, scientists out there, these evolutionists, try to apply it only to human beings, but they give no evidence for evolution in other creatures.
There's
like,
no
for
catfish
example,
out there. Well, there's a catfish by name.
Like, how come there's no evolution of sharks? Or how come there's no evolution of dinosaurs? It's like they literally just appeared and stopped. Yeah. There is nothing before.
There's no in between.
There's no in between.
There's no alligator shark.
Yeah, how come there's no mixture? You know what I'm saying? But
which would need to be true in order for this idea.
And you brought up a good keyword, theory.
Yeah.
Now going back to it, I'm going to define it.
A
theory is a proposed explanation whose status is still conjectural and subject to experimentation.
There you go.
So literally, a theory goes hand in hand with a superstition. It's something totally, completely unproven.
Yeah.
It's still subject to experimentation, and it's conjectural, which means it's literally just words.
Yeah.
It's literally just...
It's a belief.
It's a belief.
It's a belief.
So famous theories out there. You just gave the theory of evolution.
Yeah.
Another big one, theory. Now, keep in mind, theory is something unproven.
Yeah.
The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
There's theories in economics.
Yeah.
There's string theory. You alluded to it.
Yeah. Well, we talked a little bit about it. Yeah.
In the Bible, we have something called gap theory.
Yeah.
I would advise you guys to Google some of these. Now you got the theory of relativity.
Yeah.
That's one.
It's still a theory, by the way.
It's still a theory. Now, by saying it's a theory, that's literally saying it's still unproven.
Yet
it has not been proved.
Yeah.
Another one that's literally affecting our daily lives today, the theory of global warming or climate change.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, the media is gonna blast out 98% of scientists agree that the blah 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 blah. Well, they also said 98% of voters were gonna vote for Hillary. They also said 98% of jurists said OJ was dead. I mean, OJ did it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can't be trusting the media for our fact.
Fake news.
Exactly.
News.
They also
CNN.
said that 98% of this said that. 98%. And these polls are, I don't know who they're polling. When they say 98% of Americans, you know what? I'm an American. Nobody polled me.
Nobody polled me.
So how can you say that? Like, it's just they poll 100,000 people or 10,000 people, and that's supposed to be the opinion of the nation.
Of the nation, right? Yeah.
Or anything. No. Or they'll say 98% of scientists.
No.
Well, they're going to ask 2 scientists, and those 2 happen to be completely anti-Christian or anti-whatever. So, of course, you're going to say that.
Well, not only that, some of these theories that you're mentioning, our modern lives are based on.
Exactly.
This theory of relativity that you mentioned, like almost everything is based
on that theory.
On the theory of relativity, which in the bigger picture sprouts this other idea about the cosmos. Because the theory of relativity deals with the macrocosm and the rules behind the macrocosm. For those of y'all who hadn't heard that word, the macrocosm refers to the planets, the big things in life, the planets, the solar systems, the galaxies, etc., which again is also just theory.
Yeah. Nothing's been proven.
Nothing's been proven.
Yeah, up to this point, everything I just mentioned is an idea in somebody's head.
Yeah. Including galaxies, by the way. Including black holes.
So people, now if it's presented as fact, and you believe it as fact, well then you're the idiot that actually believe it's fact. So I'm selling you Coke, telling you it's water, and you're the idiot that says, okay, that's water, I'll buy it. Now you're that guy.
Exactly.
So from the origin of the show, we want to wake people up to that.
Yeah.
So just because your biology teacher tells you, no, we came from apes.
Prove it.
Yeah. Honestly, the burden of proof is on him. Yes. It's not on you to accept it.
Exactly.
So we can't just be sheep and be like, okay, well, if Mr. So-and-so or Professor So-and-so did this, said this, it must be true.
No.
Let me just throw out all my beliefs in the history from the last 2,000 years, let me throw them out the window because so-and-so said it was true.
Yeah.
And apparently this so-and-so is never incorrect in his whole life. He's never erased or pressed the delete button on his computer.
That, some of these teachers have an agenda.
And we can go into that. And another theory or overarching would be, of course, your basic conspiracy theories. Now, it's all conspiracy theory until it's not.
Exactly.
So,
conspiracy fact.
Then it's conspiracy fact, but just throwing that word conspiracy just makes it that much less salty. Yeah.
Yeah. The problem with conspiracy theories that become conspiracy fact, when they become conspiracy fact,
it's too late.
It's too late.
It's too late.
It's been done.
You've
been duped.
Exactly.
You're feeling the effects of the poison.
It's always been proven after the fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, things like that. And not all conspiracy theories are just completely bogus. At one time, the whole Watergate scandal was a conspiracy until it was proven that Nixon did that. Yeah. The whole Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky thing was a conspiracy against him until it was proven. But like you said, it's too late. The act has been done. The deed has been done. It's already
Pizzagate.
Pizzagate. We'll go on down. Pizzagate. Google that.
No.
But and going back to it, like the global warming, climate change.
Yeah.
There's a book out there. I'm gonna encourage you guys to read it by our girl Sheila Zelinsky.
Yeah.
Shout out. Hopefully she's listening.
Yeah.
The Green Gospel.
There you go.
Read it.
Yeah, she goes in depth into
real
how this
depth into that
has been turned into a religion.
For those of you that are real strong into global warming, think about it. I mean, who's making money off this?
Yeah.
Now,
Al Gore.
According to Al Gore, the city of New York should have been already part of the ocean. I think something like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, last I checked, they're still filming a lot of shows in New York. People are still going tourist into New York. I mean,
Manhattan's still there.
Now you got to realize also when he made that Inconvenient Truth. I mean, I think he already has a part 2 already because apparently the first part wasn't too successful as far as his predictions.
Okay, well,
so a lot of people don't realize that he made a lot of money when a lot of these companies started going for quote unquote green products.
Yeah.
Like let's say like these ethanol companies or light bulb companies or electricity companies. Now there's somebody behind that, the curtain, so to say, pushing that, buy this product over that product.
Yeah.
Now
They're manipulating your
exactly.
mind.
Now you got to realize who's making money off this. Now Al Gore made billions off of this whole green movement.
Oh, yeah.
Now, don't take my word for it. Google it up. Search it.
Yeah.
A lot of the very same people that these anti-capitalists, that they hate the 1%, but yet the very people that are making money off of these, like this green movement, are the very same people that they're actually protesting against. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like these rich guys that are getting richer are the same guys that are getting richer because you're buying your recycled plastic bag.
Exactly.
Or they're buying or they're the ones supplying your green energy made from the windmills. You know what? These guys own the windmills.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. And it's not to say that green energy is bad. It's good.
No.
It's just
the concept.
Sometimes you gotta dig a little deeper on it.
Yeah. Do your homework, everybody.
And they'll say CO2 is bad. CO2 is death. Well, you know what? Every time you breathe and exhale, CO2 is coming out of your body. So by definition, you are bad and you deserve to die. Well, according to, I mean, you take it to that extreme.
That's a bit extreme, I was going to say.
On the globalist level, though, there's videos out there. No, on the globalist levels, like you're saying, if you want to get into conspiracy theories, there's people out there that human beings are the problem.
Yes. In a nutshell, what's going on is manipulation. Mental manipulation of your beliefs, of what you buy, of what you sell, of what you're willing to accept as a reality in your life. I think that that's the underlying reason behind all of these deceptions. They're trying to get you to agree or to logically arrive at the conclusion that they must be right because they're presenting all these quote unquote facts. So it must be real, right? And just to take it back to what I was saying about evolution, this fact that, Darwin observed all of these species adapting to their environment over there in the Galapagos Islands. So,
the turtles?
Yeah, the turtles and a plethora of species that he observed. And that's where, Darwin was one of the biggest proponents of evolution. But at the same time, no chemical studies were done on any of the animals. No DNA samples were collected. No, I mean, given that back in the 1800s when this was going on, they weren't very advanced in DNA studies, but they were advanced enough. You know what I mean? So to further reinforce what I'm saying on evolution, the simple concept of Rh negative blood types. You heard of that one, right? Yeah. Rh negative blood types.
Yeah.
Rh negative or Rh factor is actually one of 35 known human blood group systems, right? A blood group, you know how some people are A, universal, O, positive, B positive. These, to not go too technical and in depth, they're called antigens, right? And these antigens make up your blood. Right? And the different mixture, if you will, of antigens, both positive and negative, make up physically your blood. Unfortunately for evolutionists, this rhesus factor or Rh factor is non-existent in the whole ape family. Therefore, by conclusion, because evolution, supposedly one thing evolves from a more complex system evolves from a simpler form. There's no way to get Rh blood type from a non-Rh archetype. It's totally impossible. There's absolutely no way that we could have evolved from apes because apes are not, their antigens do not form or have the ability for rhesus at all. So there's absolutely no way. And that's a modern example of how we're disproving this superstition of evolution. Yeah. If the fossil record wasn't enough for you, I encourage y'all to look up Rh negative, Rh positive blood types, and their relation to this theory of evolution.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you got anything to add on that part?
No, just like on that, theories are exactly just that. They're theories.
Yeah.
So I would encourage you guys that, like, really think about what's being fed to you.
Yeah.
What's being fed to you as truth on the matter. And that goes for preachers in the pulpit as well.
Yeah. For all you atheists out there, adopt that same attitude that you have towards Christians or Catholics or whomever, to where you're questioning and scrutinizing every single aspect of what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Adopt that same attitude towards the things that you call scientific reality and scientific fact, and see what you come up with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not to rant anymore on some of these superstitions that we've been naming, but this theory of relativity, which brings forth gravity, that's a big one for me. That's a game-changing, huge thing there. Gravity, folks, is a theory. It is not proven. Now, somebody out there is probably going to put in their comment section about the detection of gravitons of like 8 months ago, like a year ago, over there in the desert of Arizona. I'm going to go back to experiments like the Michelson-Morley experiment, where they kind of inadvertently proved that the Earth is actually not moving, which, you know, gravity gets its basis saying that because we're on a spinning globe and centrifugal force is attracting us to the center of this hugely massive spinning globe, we're feeling the effects of the pull onto the surface of the globe. But I'm going to ask you to just analyze this critically for 1 second. If anyone out there has gone to the fair and there's this a ride, usually called the Gravitron or something like that, where you get into this circular disc-shaped like thing.
The Starship 2000.
There you go.
Boom.
And it starts spinning. Good
I
one.
love that ride.
And what happens?
You get stuck to the outside, not the inside. Yeah.
Come on, guys. Like, okay, so then someone out there is going to say, well, the mass of the planet is not enough. Or the mass of the Starship 2000 is not enough for the inverse effect to kick in. And I'm just going to look at you like, really, dude?
Bro. Yeah.
Like, really, bro? Like, what part of this experiment that you're running on so-called centrifugal force are you not understanding? When something's spinning, things get flown outward.
Not inward.
Not inward, people. Come on. Look up the Michelson-Morley experiment if you don't believe me.
Yeah.
This was kind of conclusive that the Earth is not spinning. And I don't want to open up that can of worms, because that could lead into a whole show.
Carlos has a bunch of cans and a bunch of worms that, you know what, we're probably not going to get into.
Oh, it takes one to know one.
And we're not saying that gravity doesn't exist. We're just saying that
it's not what you've been told.
Or not even that. It's just we can't explain it.
Yeah.
Now, we all feel it. There's a reason why we're all stuck to the ground. There's a reason why an apple fell and hit Newton's head.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why when I throw a ball up, it's going to come right back down. Now, there's a reason why, but we don't understand it.
Yeah.
And for us to try to explain that it's because of this and because of that. Now, we're going to use science, and people have used science to disprove those theories.
Yes.
Because going back to it, they're theories.
They're theories,
but
exactly.
Gravity does exist. We just don't know what causes it or what it is.
There's some interesting theories, competing theories out there. The electric universe.
That one's cool.
And it's, what is it? Toroidal alternating magnetic fields.
Some crazy stuff.
Which cause gravity as a byproduct of energy flow through toroidal fields.
Yeah.
Look into that. That's interesting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few YouTubers out there. I'm trying to think. There's a really interesting YouTuber who has some math.
Anthony Patch.
Well, Anthony Patch, yeah. Well, yeah, he's a good one. He doesn't specifically talk about gravity.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot. I think the one I'm thinking about, his name is Theoria Apocrypha, something. I'll write it down in the description. He's got some math to back his ideas about toroidal fields, which are really
Yeah, we'll
interesting.
add stuff on the
add
on the
stuff
notes
there.
section of our show. We'll put
Yeah.
our links to our sources.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, things like that.
Yeah, but Anthony Patchy is good, by the way.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Throw that in there.
Yeah.
So to not deviate too much from what we're trying to say is, if you're that person who's believing things just because the modern priesthood called scientists are telling you, then, you know, you're probably going to be sorely disappointed, and sooner than not. So I'm going to touch on the last one that has to do with all these themes because I'm really passionate about it, and because we might end up doing a show about it later.
Probably
it's
not.
a whole show to itself. Look at you. And it has to do with this whole gravity thing, etc., etc., etc. The whole argument between geocentrism and heliocentrism.
For those of you that don't understand.
For those of you who've never heard
of those
these terms,
yeah.
Heliocentrism
is where the sun is the center of the solar system.
Exactly. Where geocentrism says
the Earth is the center.
The Earth is the center of not just the solar system, the whole universe.
The Earth.
The Earth, exactly. There's a really, really interesting documentary out there by Delano. No, Delano's the Blink-182 guy.
No, yeah. Delano.
Oh, Delano.
Delano.
Right? Yes.
I'm trying to think of his first name, but real good
Tom.
guy to look.
Yeah.
It might be Tom. You know what? Let me look it up.
Yeah.
Go ahead, keep talking.
It's called The Principle. And what he did actually was bring in a bunch of the top scientists nowadays. And I don't know how he did it, but he got them to basically...
Rick Delano.
There you go. Rick Delano. The Principle is his documentary. Amazing.
He literally got banned from a lot of universities.
Yeah.
Because... Yeah, just to piggyback off what you said, he literally went to a lot of these so-called experts in the field, and really exposed that they really didn't even know what they're talking about.
Yeah,
kind of stuff like that.
That's what I was dancing around.
Yeah, you're dancing around. I'll say it. I'll say it straight up. And I know he went to a lot of famous scientists. I mean, guys that you're gonna see like on History Channel, National Geographic Channel, NASA.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy, and I didn't think he had that purpose, to be honest with you. I think as he was doing research into it, he started realizing that a lot of these experts, dude, the formulas they were using literally don't make sense, or the margin of error is so large that to even consider these things as fact is like this dumbest thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And he got banned, and he made a lot of these scientists also kind of change their mind on religion.
Some of them actually sued him, didn't they?
Yes, he got sued. He even got threats.
Supposedly misconstrued their words, but he's got them on tape basically admitting that their math is off.
Exactly. You know? And like it wasn't like little formulas. No, we're talking about like life-changing. Yeah. Like you got societies based on certain equations, math. Yeah. And I got it wrong. No, bro. Like you're really not going back on it after like a whole civilization has been built on that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's this whole idea that, you know, the Earth is just this random planet out in the midst of total randomness in the ever expanding universe, which is incredibly huge and large and whatever. And honestly, that helps anyone who has an agenda. Mm-hmm. It helps them to make you feel insignificant and small and petty and unimportant. Now, all this is up for debate, but geocentrism basically says we are the center of not just our solar system,
but the universe,
the whole universe, which puts us right smack in the center of creation, which makes you and I, however petty you may feel, incredibly important.
Makes you special.
And interesting and special.
Yes.
And that makes the whole world of difference when, on one hand, you've got these people trying to convince you of whatever, and on the other hand, you've got pretty much God trying to tell you through a myriad of ways how special and important and how much he loves you. Yeah. So when you put it into that perspective, that's what we're talking about on this show. When we called it science versus superstition, and then we attacked both, and then we married both, That's what we're trying to get y'all to consider. You know?
Yeah. I think Delano did a real good job. His name it's Rick. It's Rick.
Yeah.
Last name Delano, Delano. And if you want to just Google it, which is what I did right now, the actual video, the documentary he made is literally called The Principle. Principle. Not principle like the school principle. No, principle like as a like a law, something like your principles. And man, some real awesome interviews that I've heard him do, that he's done in the past.
Yeah.
A real amazing one is when he was on Canary Cry Radio.
Oh, yeah.
That one was really good. I think maybe a little bit better.
Yeah.
He was on Coast to Coast. And he's not a regular, but he's been on Coast to Coast quite often. Yeah. And man, dude, he just blow it out of the water. Like because he's a real matter-of-fact guy. He's not going to sugarcoat stuff. And he has a way of explaining things that like anybody can understand. Yeah. And if anybody can just Google on YouTube or whatever, just Coast to Coast, Rick Delano. Yeah. Some of his interviews are man, he's just amazing. He's just awesome. And he shoots down, not rudely, but as a matter of fact, a lot of these callers that come in trying to refute him. Yeah. I mean, like our atheists will use, you can't argue with science. Yeah. Well, he's going to use that exact same science and saying you can't argue with science. And it's literally disproving your lack of belief in a certain topic.
They make observations in his documentary
he's
about
awesome.
the placement of the astros in regards to us, about what I think, the name is escaping me, the event horizon, if I'm not mistaken, and how when we make observations on this seeming horizon and the background scatter radiation, how actually the astros around us are lined up around us, not us just randomly thrown out there in the midst of a billion stars. Yeah. And that's really awesome. A curious fact about Delano, he's actually Catholic. And what I'm trying to say by that, again, is you don't have to be a professing X, Y, or Z in order to be searching for the truth. You know, the path, that's why it's called the path, because you're meant to walk it. Mm-hmm. And the path is going to have many bends and turns, and probably going to take you through several forms of your belief until you can fine tune it, you know, to what God wants of you. I'm certain for a lot of people, the path to God might start in Buddhism. Yeah. I mean, if they're sitting in the Church of Satan out there in Utah, and, you know, maybe going through Buddhism and then whatever, and then whatever, and then whatever, and then whatever is actually your path. And something that I tell a lot of, I'm going to call them aspiring Christians, or people that I just talk to in general, there's no one single church that has a 10-step process on salvation. Everyone has opinions, and everyone has one brick in your pathway. The path is personal. No one has absolute truths aside from Jesus Christ himself. Mm-hmm. But since we don't have the luxury of listening to his sermons like they did roughly 2,000 years ago, then, you know, it's our job to reconstruct things and ask one person, ask another person. If you need to do this, you know, ask representatives of several faiths, you know, and do your homework. Be diligent about your homework. Be objective and be realistic. You know, when you come to a conclusion, be honest with yourself. You know, don't try and keep your atheism. If it's being questioned to the point where maybe you're not an atheist anymore, have the guts to say it, and leave aside your preconceived notions, and realize that, you know, you might have been wrong. You might have been deceived your whole life. Which I hope by listening to some of our rants, you might be considering now. Those of you who thought that gravity was a proven thing. Yeah. So, I'm good.
Well, just like the previous shows, I kind of saved the best for last.
There you go.
I have these little, as Carlos calls them, gems.
Okay.
No, actually, to be honest with you, what I try to do towards the end of all the shows is wrap it into how it fits with the Bible.
Yeah.
Because to me, and to Carlos, and to, I would say, the majority of our listeners, the Bible
Yeah.
would be truth.
Yeah.
It is, I mean, it's infallible in the fact that it is what it is.
Yeah. We are gonna do a whole show on
Yeah,
that, right?
not to say that we can't question the Bible.
Yeah.
Now, we can definitely question it as far as, like, why does it tell me not to do this?
Yeah.
Because there's a reason. And
Yeah.
why can I do this and not, as opposed to that? Things like that.
Yeah.
But for me, the Bible is truth.
Yeah, of course.
Now, in the world, there are many types of superstitions. Some good, some bad. A benign one, like no effect, would, of course, would be like walking on the ladder.
Yeah.
Now, a more like... a negative superstition, of course, is when you're starting to go into like your black magic, your occult, your voodoo, sorcery, things like that.
Yeah.
Now, what does the Bible have to say about things like that? Now, Scripture specifically condemns those who practice these types of superstitions.
There's a reason for that.
Now, the specific verses: Deuteronomy 4:19, 2 Kings 21-6, Isaiah 2. Verse 6. Now, these are specific verses. Yeah, there's a lot. I'm just mentioning those three.
Yeah.
There's specific verses where, you know what? It's literally condemning these superstitions.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say that the Bible's on the side of science, but the Bible's on the side of there are bad superstitions.
Yeah.
There are definitely superstitions you don't want to get mixed up with. And there are consequences for it. And the Bible lays those out. Now, the Bible also gives examples of where God Himself will intervene in specific events to disprove other superstitions.
Yeah.
And a good clear example would be 1 Kings 18:20-40.
Okay.
Now, this story, for those of you that know, is Elijah is showing the foolishness of the superstitious beliefs. Elijah showing is showing the foolishness of the superstitious beliefs of the Baal priests.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Now, he literally calling them out, and what he does is he goes on a mountain, he puts two pyres, a bundle of sticks like a bonfire, and he's those religious priests of Baal saying that their God is a true God, and he can make this pile of sticks, this bonfire, light by itself.
Yeah.
Now, it never happens, and he goes so bad that Elijah's actually making fun of them. Then, you know what? Maybe you should talk a little louder. He's probably asleep, or whatever. Elijah's poking his little is being sarcastic to him.
Jezebel's priest. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what does Elijah do? He actually challenges people to come bring water, pour it on his pile, dig a little moat around it, so it's even more like everything you can possibly do, so nothing won't light on fire. And what does he do? He prays, and what happens? God sends down the lightning, and it lights on fire. So that's to show that his belief was truth, because it actually happened, in contrast to the belief of the Baal priests, where they had their beliefs, but there was no end result. It was proven false, and they got their reward. And then the fact that they were all killed.
All 300 and some of them.
Yes. So that's one. So in that case, God did act. So God I don't want to say proved Himself, because in this case he did. He proved that He's the one true God, not the other ones.
Yeah.
Paul also dealt with superstitions a lot.
Yeah.
The Apostle Paul, when he was going around, he even came to certain temples to the unknown God. These people were so superstitious that they're making temples to gods they don't even know. Just to kind of play the field. So I don't want to piss off this God that I don't know, so I'm going to make a temple to the unknown God. I mean, that's in a nutshell, to kind of to reword. That's how Paul explained it.
Yeah.
Like, they have more faith in these gods they don't even know, because they want to piss him off. They don't want to piss them off. But yet they have no fear in actually getting mad the one true God and actually crucifying him. So things like that. So that's when you get the battle of superstitions. Now, specifically, there's different types of superstitions. A superstition, one type could be just a basic belief that a specific event did or did not occur.
Yeah.
More recently, you got the ex-president of Iran actually denying that the Holocaust actually even happened.
Oh,
so
I heard
people.
about that.
So he would actually say that the actual Holocaust was a superstition, and the fact that it's just some event made up to use to help out the Jews.
Yeah.
Now, Paul dealt with that exact situation in Acts 25, 18-20. When he was brought up in court, the actual leaders were actually used saying that Christ's resurrection was a superstition. So they're actually denying that. Now, what did Paul do? He affirmed it to be true, and he affirmed that Christ did come back.
Yeah.
In Isaiah 2:6, superstitions can actually lead people away from Christ, where people actually become so pagan that there's no longer semblance of what they used to be. In Isaiah 2:6, he's talking about how the Lord has abandoned his people, the descendants of Jacob. They're full of superstitions from the east. They practice divination like the Philistines and embrace pagan customs.
Yeah.
So the Bible itself would define a superstition as divination and pagan customs. He's giving those specific examples as what a superstition is.
Yeah.
Now, for me, the ultimate case for Christ in this battle of superstition and science is Colossians 2:8-10.
Okay.
See to it that no man takes you captive through hollow and deceptive philosophy. For me, that would be a fake science or a false superstition. Yeah. And he further describes it as, which depends on human tradition and the elemental spiritual forces. Human tradition being science, elemental spiritual forces being the superstitions.
The superstitious aspect.
So see to it that no one takes you captive through these deceptive philosophies of this world rather than on Christ himself, because he is the truth. And then verse 9, for in Christ all the fullness of deity lives in body form, and in Christ you have been brought to fullness. So it's through Christ that you become full, that you know truth, because he is the head over every power and authority.
There you go.
Amen.
Amen.
So be careful when you start believing in evolution. That would be a human tradition. Exactly. Be careful when you start believing that you have to pray to the Santa Muerte or you have to pray to these false idols. That is elemental spiritual forces leading you astray from Christ. So the Bible does touch on this. This is nothing new.
Also, you got to be smart about what they're saying. Mm-hmm. They're also alluding to there being some degree of truth to these. Yes,
exactly. And I think we touched on that when we talked about our paranormal show, how like witch doctors.
Yeah.
You know what they do? They do have certain powers. I'm not denying that they have certain. Just there's consequences for certain powers.
It's not fully understood.
Exactly.
Is what we're trying to say. Yeah. And that phrase in Colossians that you mentioned, I think is saying that really clearly. Yes, there's something to it, but you guys don't know the half of it.
Yeah.
And understand that you don't know the half of it, so don't even go there. If you know what's good for you,
just stay with Christ.
Stay with Christ, because that is a for sure thing. Mm-hmm. Something that you don't got to guess on. And something
exactly. You don't have to guess on what Christ wants.
Exactly.
He tells you what he wants in the Bible.
Yeah.
I mean, where's the conflict in that?
Yeah.
Why would anybody want to go outside of that?
Yeah.
But
which actually ties it in really well. Yeah. Because most superstition, like we said a little while ago, is seeking truth. The reason the superstition is there is because they're trying to explain something that's observable, and someone wants to get to the truth behind it. So, don't mess around. There's a book that tells you literally what's expected of you, how it's expected of you, when it's expected of you, and you can go into parables all day long, but at the end of the day, the message is still the same. The expectations are still the same, and the warnings of everything that's going on in our world today are there. Mm-hmm. I know we're going to get into some of the more fringe topics in the Bible later.
Yeah.
And we've been hitting on them a lot. The Nephilim, UFOs, this and that. But
Demon
all of that,
possessions, Book of Enoch. Yeah.
All that's there. Ain't nothing new.
Yeah.
Just...
I'm going to just end with one verse, and I'll wrap it up to what I'm going to say. The culmination of everything. John 14:6.
Okay.
Jesus answered, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Yeah. And I'm going to say it. Not through Buddha.
Yeah.
Not through Confucius. Not through Allah. Not through Richard Dawkins. Not through evolution. Not through science.
No.
Not through your professor at whatever university. Through who? Through Jesus.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is.
So I'll end it at that, and
That's good.
I hope that was a good little way to tie in. Dude, the Bible has literally answers for everything. It's just on how you use it.
Yeah.
The Bible is a Swiss Army of everything. It has a use for everything.
Yeah.
It's just you got to use it.
Exactly. I like that. I'm gonna leave that one there so
Mhm.
that it hits home for some of you out there. I know it's stinging for some of you out there.
Colossians 2:8-10.
There
That's
you go.
it. It answers it for me.
Yeah,
It even tells you,
amen.
be careful, man. Be careful.
Well, there's a lot of warnings in the Bible about
Yeah,
everything.
but this one too specifically what
Yeah.
we're talking about.
Yeah. Very good. I'm good, man. I like that.
Yeah, we're good. What do you think, David?
Anything to add,
David's
David?
crying over there.
Oh,
No, but he's
man.
all right.
He's-
He just got a
Teary-eyed.
teary-eyed now.
I mean,
But
very
thank you guys
capable
for
man.
listening. As always, leave your comments. I think on the next episode, I think the only one left is the actual Bible.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
Yeah,
we
we
actually
can
might
do
do
that.
a Spanish episode, so it might be delayed a little bit, but we'll see. Yeah.
I mean, we've done 8, 9 with this one
Yeah, there you go.
in English,
Mm-hmm.
1 in Spanish.
Yeah.
I know the Spanish-speaking crowd is looking at me with ojo. They're trying to
with
give me
ojo,
ojo.
they're getting that superstition of
There
ojo,
you
the
go.
evil eye, the evil eye. Yeah, but I enjoy this. Definitely,
Yeah.
I would encourage you guys share the link, share
Yeah,
the
share the
website,
link.
share the YouTube channel,
Comment below.
below,
Challenge us.
and of course, listen to the
Yeah.
show.
Ooh, that stung.
Ugh.
All right. Well, God bless you guys.
God bless you guys.
Thank you.
Yep. We'll see you guys next time on the road to Damascus.